All right, so today we're going to be talking about rebuilding our energy and resilience reserves. This is January 24th. How many people made those New Year's resolutions and they've already fallen away? Yeah, lots of us have. So we're going to talk today a little bit about how to rebuild our energy and keep that resilience high and have some in the reserves. I'm Robyn Harvey. I'm with Be Strong Families. I serve as the National Training and Technical Assistance Director, and I'm joined by...
Hello, my name is Greishen Rodriguez. I am the program manager at Be Strong Family. I oversee a couple programs, and a little bit about me. I'm a parent, and I look forward to this cafe today.
Awesome. Thanks, Greishen. All right, Andrew, go ahead. I'm going to just do a couple more shout outs here. Tangi from Boston, Shawanda from New Hampshire, Becky from Florida, and Lynn from Colorado. Thank you and welcome. So if you are new to our webinar series, you'll want to pay attention here. All the veterans, you can read through, but I know you guys all know what you're doing. When you are ready to speak, if you will raise your hand, and we'll ask you to unmute yourself. Feel free at any time during this webinar to type your comments in the group, in the chat, and make sure it's going to everyone. You use that little down caret and you choose everyone. Otherwise, it's just going to be me and Greishen and Andrew seeing what you're writing. All right. And the last one, we have 42 people with us today. So please be patient as you type or as you raise your hand. We're going to try to get to as many people as possible. Again, welcome. Be Strong Families uses agreements to create a safe space for these conversations. In the agreements, we speak from our own experience. We use I statements. We tell our own stories. Next, we treat other people the way you want to be treated using the golden rule. Next, this is a 1-hour webinar. Please bring your full presence. Try to give yourself that break and don't multitask. And the last one, if you need a minute to take care of any of your needs, coworkers' needs, your children's needs, your fur baby's needs, take that minute and come right back. If you agree to all these agreements, do what Lynn and Tammy and Jenny and all of you are doing and write, I agree. I'm going to slip mine in there too. Awesome. Great. Lots of agrees. Perfect. All right. Thank you. It's so awesome to see all these. Oh, and I see some extra people. So now we're up to 47. Welcome. All right, Andrew, I'm sorry, I lost the questions. Okay, so today we have a special treat and we're going to do this a little bit differently. On Fridays, we host what we call lovingly a taste of a cafe experience. That takes you through a full cafe in a very abridged format. It gives you the opportunity to have meaningful, safe, fulfilling conversations in a very safe place. Today, we're just going to have some conversations surrounding some cafe questions. All three of these questions undergird the protective factor, the Strengthening Families protective factor of resilience. Strengthening Families has 5 protective factors that keep families fabulously tight and strong. The first one's resilience. The second one's social connections. The third one is knowledge of parenting and child development. The fourth one is concrete support. And the fifth one is about communication, the social and emotional competence of our children. So today we're really going to highlight the resilience questions. And Andrew, would you like to put the first one up? Awesome. So what we're going to talk about for the next about 12 minutes is what drains your energy and what builds it back up. All right, I just want to remind you of the agreements and remind you to raise your hand. We'd love to hear your voice. We'd love to bring your voice into this space. So we already have somebody commenting. Christopher says, negative people. Christopher, would you mind unpacking that a bit? What about negative energy drains your energy? And feel free, everybody, to type in the chat or raise your hand. So for me, what drains my energy is having to repeat myself to my kids. I can't stand that. It drives me crazy. Like, listen the first time. And so over the years of my parenting, my youngest son just turned 21 on Saturday. And over the years of parenting, I have figured out what builds my energy back up is when they listen. And how did I get them to listen? I fragmented the instructions. I just give them a little bit at a time. Even older people like myself need fragmented instructions. So Stephanie offered unnecessary stress. Stephanie, if you wouldn't mind putting in what that unnecessary stress is, what does that look like? Trisha says, negative people drain me, and my children build me back up. Trish, would you mind putting in the chat what about your kids builds you up? And Christopher says, constant negative folks, always the negative. If it's sunny, it's cloudy. If it's good, it's okay. Sabrina says, oh, our sons share a birthday. Well, happy birthday to your son. And then Maria says, the stress. Again, Maria, if you want to type a little bit more, tell us what that looks like for you. Trish is seeing my kids be joyful and how much they love each other and her. Oh, Yamuna, COVID, literally. I think we all can raise our hands to that. That 3 years or going into our third year, 2021, now 22 of COVID has been extremely stressful. Stephanie says, dealing with stress in your life that you shouldn't have to deal with. Hard to explain, yeah. But people causing stress in your life, yes. And Christopher wants to offer building me up. Is my dog, me too. Movies and TV shows. I just watched Encanto last night. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but that movie was great. It really, really did a number on my emotions. Baking, writing, and sun. I miss the sun. I miss the sun too. And Jessica offers, my son constantly saying, hey, mom. What? Yeah, I like that, Jessica. I have a 3-year-old granddaughter who's continually pulling at my coat saying, grandma, grandma. COVID exhausting, lack of hugs. Yes. For those of you who need that physical touch, I imagine it is draining and stressful not to have those. Greishen says social media. Yeah. What about social media, Greishen, is stressful?
Social media is so exhausting because I always find myself comparing myself to others. So it's like the theft of joy. And I was like, what I have, I'm content with my life. I love my life. I love my children, like my daughter. I love my family, my friends. So I always find myself in a very odd spot and very uncomfortable spot. So I try to minimize my time on the screen with social media because also social media is advertising the news and all these other things are happening within social media. So I try to move away from that platform to just, for not to drain my energy, to use my energy for other things, like, spend more time with my daughter and things like that. So I don't have that within me because once it's in me and that energy is contagious and I don't want it, contaminate my daughter. So I want to make sure I am away from it and putting time into putting my energy where it's needed more.
Thanks, Greishen. And Stephanie said, Encanto always puts me in a better mood. That and The Greatest Showman. Oh, I'll have to write that down, Stephanie. Take a look at it. I've never heard that one. Andrew is offering for me, currently, it's seeing house projects that need to be done, but lacking the time or funds to really see it get done the right way. Yeah, that is stressful, Andrew. And now, Andrew, you'll need to type what builds you back up. And Lynn's offering negative judgment and selfishness drains my energy, and being around open-minded, caring people, exercising builds me up. Yeah, thank you, Lynn. Tammy is saying being social drains me, which is hard because I work with families and really enjoy people. Resting in bed, reading, crocheting, build it back up. Thanks, Tammy. Shawanda says negativity drains and downtime and fun recharges. Shawanda, what do you do for fun? What are some of the things that recharge you? And Adrian, can you let me in via my computer on my phone right now? I don't know what that means, Adrian, but I'll put Andrew on the job. And Andrew says, building me back up, watching home renovation shows where the problems the host face put mine into perspective with the laughing emoji. Andrew, I hear you there. I used to watch Hoarders for the very same reason. It made me feel good about the stuff I kept. Cindy's offering getting outside and hiking build her back up. And Varquita, I hope that I'm saying that right. And if I haven't, please let me know. She says nature walks. That's beautiful. And Leah, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but if you want to correct me, I will take you off mute. Getting a massage, resting and not doing anything. Yeah, I had a hard time with that for a long time.
You know, Robert, I could speak upon that. I like sometimes I find myself in spaces like it's like I'm always busy. I will live in this. I live. I can speak as to my perspective. We're always in a rush, or like I always have to do something that I don't know how to sit in a quiet spot. So I started practicing about 5 minutes to 10 minutes sitting in the space, not doing anything, not even watching TV or watching my phone. But I need to practice because I just need my brain to slow down, because that's how I'm able to making sure that I'm able to build my energy back up, because I just need my brain to slow down. I got too many tabs in there open, so I just need them to be minimized or closed out for at least a couple minutes. I owe that to myself, so I try to do that a lot and put it into practice. It's a work in progress.
Thank you, Greishen. I love that too, because people who know me know I need my quiet time in the morning. I'm a mom of 1 million children, and most of them live here. Mm-hmm. So there's always noise, there's always chaos. And I love that. Don't get me wrong. But I have to have quiet in the morning. So I find myself waking up between 4:30 and 6 every morning just so I can have peace and quiet with nobody talking to me. And if by chance one of those kids wakes up, I jump in my car and I go to Dunkin' Donuts and I get myself my beverage and sit in my car quietly. I just have to have that mental space to start my day out. That builds my energy up. Mm-hmm. My coworkers can always tell when I didn't have my quiet time in the morning. I'm a little crankier. Okay. So Tammy says, Shwanda, let's go all the way up here. I can understand and thank you. Lilia, thank you for pronouncing your name. I really appreciate that. Shawanda says, I can understand. Jessica says, yes, practicing mindfulness is wonderful. Yes, it sure is. Tammy says, I can relate to Greishen. Too many tabs open in my brain. Yeah. And Kareen, building up, help me by watching the most funny videos. I did that last night. I haven't seen America's Funniest Home Videos in a long time. I've usually watched them on my phone. But I found myself with a half an hour and thought, you know what? I used to love this show. I used to love to laugh. And it was great. Thanks for sharing that, Maria. Trisha says, I have to stop all screen time way before bed or my brain won't let me sleep.
Oh, I do that too. I have a timer. So I have an iPhone, so I utilize the thing and then you turn it off. It allows you to put a time from what time frame. So like that, you could just minimize the time on your screen, especially before bed, because if not, my mind is running during bedtime and I will not sleep till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I need my rest, especially when I have a busy day the next day.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this was a great conversation. Abney says, walking every morning, even when it's chilly here. Yes. And Tammy is offering, when I lived in Rhode Island, I used to go sit by the saltwater in the early morning. I'd take a coffee and my book and just soak in all the sights and smells, sounds of nature. I miss that. No ocean here in Pennsylvania. That ritual would refresh me like no other. Tammy, I hear you. I am a lover of Lake Michigan. And that place builds me up. Even if I just sit there and watch a seagull bob on the waves, it's just really wonderful. I love that. Any last thoughts on this question before we move on to the other one? And don't forget, everybody, you can raise your hand, you can add your real voice, or you can type. All right, Andrew, can you put up the next question? Prayers. Thank you, Abney. So the next question that we're going to talk about is, when have you bent in order not to break? And what did you learn from that experience? Greishen, you want to start this question off?
Yeah, it's a really hard question. There's so many things that have happened throughout my life, but something that, that stands out for me, that I had to bend, and it was really challenging for me to overcome that was, I guess, the way my parents parent. And I was trying to reinforce the way my parents parent to my daughter. And it wasn't working. It wasn't working out because my daughter is very outspoken. She's very assertive, and she challenges, I want to say challenges. She actually, questions the question. And I'm the same way. She asks us questions out of curiosity. So I found myself in that very hard spot, and I felt very not unsupportive by family members and friends as to why I parent the way I parent, because my parenting was kind, my parenting was genuine, my parenting was intentional, because my job, my daughter doesn't belong to me. She doesn't belong to the world. She belongs to herself. So I want to make sure that she's able to ask questions and ask me the questions as to why this is happening. And when I felt unsupportive, I had to, figure out, who are my people? Okay, so I got to check my people. These are not my people. That means, you know what? I feel very supportive. I need to check their energy. Their energy is not matching with my energy. Not that it needs to match, but it's just more I felt very unsupported. So I started looking, seeking people that, were able to offer me, that energy that I needed and support that I needed to raise my daughter. So that was a very challenging thing because, I was raised this way to parents, and then I had to learn a new way. So it was learning, relearning, and unlearning. So it was a process, but it was done. And I'm still learning. I'm still adding to my toolbox. And I'm always excited to continue to read, educate myself informally, to continue the route I'm going, because I just want to, I want for my future generations to learn new ways of parenting styles, a healthy way.
All right, so I'm in the middle of a bend or break situation. Isn't that the truth with little kids around all the time? We have to figure out, is this the hill I want to die on? So I have my little granddaughter. She wanders in the house every once in a while. She's in here right now. She's like, I really need the light on. I really need the light on. And I'm like, I'm at work. But was it really that hard? Did you miss me all that much when I turned my camera off for a second to go turn the light on for her? No, I bent. So I didn't break, because I knew that if I kept saying no to her, she's 3. She was going to say, no, this isn't acceptable, Grandma. I need the light on. And she was going to throw a tantrum. So I bent instead of having to break. We have a couple people, Greishen, with hands raised.
Yeah.
Stephanie looks like she's first, and then Kay afterwards. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Robyn. So I feel like the last 10 years of my life have been a perpetual bend and don't break. My daughter, and so her father and I split when she was very, very young. Just 2 totally different expectations of what our lives would look like after having a child. And after being together most of our lives, we just realized that one of us was growing into a parent and one of us didn't want anything to change. And so it was really hard raising a child, not necessarily, I guess, alone, because for the first several years, he wasn't a parent. And I learned how to parent my daughter the way it worked for us. And then in most recent years, in the last, I'd say 4 or 5 years, he's really come around and become a father again. And he's connecting with her. And there are times where I have to bend because it's not my way, it's our way. And we have a child together. And we were unfortunately cursed with a pretty serious cancer diagnosis in the last year that now makes that bend even more necessary, because her time with her father, what time he has left with us, is so important. That it really it does matter what I want for my daughter, and it does matter what we have going on in our lives. But when it comes to daddy time and building that relationship, we have to bend. We can't let that relationship break right now. And at the same time, we're still trying to put into our relationship, my daughter and I, making sure that I'm not losing that time, and that closeness and that bond while we're trying to build up what she hasn't had with her father.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks so much for sharing your story with us. All right, Andrew, would you like to unmute Kay? All right, Kay, you're clear to speak.
I guess what, where I had to bend was when I did get divorced. Because like the previous person stated about, he fell off the face of the earth for quite a few years and then came back and wanted to be that wonderful parent. And, but again, as we're aging, even without a cancer diagnosis, something could happen because we're in our 60s at any time. So it just even happened yesterday where, he sent me $20. I don't know, what is he going to expect from this $20, kind of thing. And so just having to still talk about him in good faith, that's hard.
Yes, that sounds hard for sure. Thank you, Kay. Thanks for coming on. Sorry, I muted myself. Shawanda is offering, I feel like COVID and 2020 till now has taught us all to bend. Yes, we've had to be really flexible through this pandemic. Sometimes I shake my head and I still can't believe that I'm living in this time period. That, for 100 years, there was nothing like this. And I was lulled into such a sense of stability and nothing could touch us. And then here comes COVID to teach us all how vulnerable we actually are. Trish is offering, I bent when I left a job I had for 20 years that I was very good at, so I wouldn't break. And I learned that sometimes taking a risk can end up making you incredibly happy and take you where you're appreciated. Thank you, Trish, for sharing your story with us. Janet is saying, my husband was drug dependent, and for many years I kept trying to fix him. Think that I could force him into getting better. I finally realized that it had to be up to him. And once I realized that, I let it go, and he found himself his way back to us and the kids, and is now almost 1 year into recovery. I realized that even though you want the best for someone, you can't force anyone into anything. It has to come from them. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Janet, for sharing your story. Tammy says, yes, definitely need to choose our fights wisely with those little ones. Yes, Tammy, I've learned that all over again. Awesome. And Taryn is saying, yes, I agree. I feel the same with this 1-year-old granddaughter about bending and giving in and not making every situation a bad one and saying no to every little thing. Yes, Taryn, thank you. That's very affirming, because sometimes I think I've gotten soft as a grandparent, but I think we've gotten wiser. And Adrian, go ahead and come on.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, friend.
Hi, it's nice to see everyone. But I'm here in sadness, and I'm going to ask for all of your prayers, because I've had to bend for years because of my situation, and in some ways we're exceedingly stable because of me, because of my power as a woman and as a parent to keep us housed. But after the pandemic, I really had thought that we would come together in harmony and loving each other more, because we've been through so much pain through this COVID. We've lost so many people have been sick, so many people had to bend in so many ways, and that includes working and not working, right? So I went back to work after the pandemic, and I purposefully chose a church because although it wasn't my religion, I felt that the work itself sounded really positive and right down my alley with social justice and bringing people together and uplifting people, and especially people who've been oppressed. Like, I'm hearing your stories, and I want everyone to know that I'm hearing you, that I've been in the same, a lot of the same scenarios that I'm hearing today. No, the alimony was not complete. Yes, I have children living at home and children in college, and they still need money, right? And I still need to pay the rent and eat and maybe pay the bills too. And so Friday, when I was let go from this company where I had been trying to help them so much to get current with all the problems that they had, and I realized that the harassment that I had been receiving for the last 3 months was really sanctioned by the church board, that now I need my faith in humanity restored. So I'm here because I have this very deep link in Be Strong Families to my community, and Robyn trained me and she helped me to start something for my community, to help other people who might become homeless as a result of COVID-19 or the aftermath right now that I'm experiencing. So, and keep these people in our community because we love people, right? And we want them to stay, and we want them to stay housed, because the reason that people become homeless is because they don't have a house. It's the only reason that people become homeless. So it doesn't matter about the rest of the reasons why they might be homeless. It's simply that they don't have a house. So I just want to ask everyone to pray for me and my strength and my resilience and my ability to stay even, which I haven't cried yet. Other people at the church cried for me on Friday. I still have connections there. I made deep friendships. And at the same time, I feel like I need your strength. So I'm reaching out here today because I need your strength. So please lend me that. Thank you.
You've got it, Adrienne. Our thoughts will be with you for sure. Thank you for coming on. Sabrina's offering. I tell my kids I don't care when they ask to do something that is safe and appropriate, because I want them to know there are some decisions they are capable of making that don't need my permission. Obviously, this is within reason, but my teenage kids know the expectations and guidelines. So while I appreciate them wanting to ask permission, I also want them to gear up to be adults and to be confident in their ability to make decisions. Thank you, Sabrina, for offering that. Yeah, and lots of support here for you, Adrienne. I'm really glad that you came today and reached out to your community. Adrienne, many of you know Adrienne from her participation. That's really great. Awesome. Okay, any last thoughts on this question? All right, Andrew, let's go ahead, and we're right on time. This is going really wonderful. Thank you all for being so engaged and so involved in the conversation. The last question that we're going to talk about this afternoon is, what do you need to do to better take care of yourself? All right. And I'm just going to let that question kind of soak in, because this question is something that Be Strong Families asks a lot. I've been on a lot of webinars that I've asked this question to you all a lot. And I think that, we have to go further than the surface. Adrienne, go ahead, and then we'll take Stephanie.
I'm just going to say that through pandemic, Be Strong Families has been my rock, and doing these webinars has been the most informative, transformative experience of my life. I'm not young anymore. I'm getting on towards, getting towards grandma now. And I'm thrilled to meet a community of people that are supportive and uplifting of each other in a way that keeps you even, but also in a way that teaches you skills that you can use everywhere you go in your life. And so I know that everyone's going to talk about, diet and exercise and relaxation, but for me, the most transformative, fabulous thing that I can do is the hard work on myself. And I find that I'm a completely different individual than I was walking into pandemic 2 years ago when I met Robyn and Andrew. And I'm thrilled that this is here, and I find that it gets my mornings started, and that it fills my cup in a way that all these other things just aren't doing enough for myself. So maybe I need it a little bit more deep in my mind than other people. Maybe some people need to remove themselves, but for me, this is what works. So that's why you see me here frequently. And I just want to be grateful that it's free and available to people. And I always suggest it for my group who leads groups. Thank you.
Thanks, Adrienne. Thanks for adding that. And we appreciate you too. We appreciate all of your support. Each one of you are so meaningful to us, and everything that you bring to the table, and every time that you contribute and you speak up or you type something, you are changing somebody's perspective, somebody's life. These things are all on YouTube now. People are looking at them. And so despite the self-growth that we are having, it's also doing some good for the world. Stephanie, go ahead.
So a big part of me taking better care of myself is learning to tackle the things that are negatively affecting me immediately. A lot of times I worry about hurting other people's feelings, and there are things that fester, like kind of what I was saying, that unwanted stress. When somebody else's actions are causing stress in my life, I need to do better about, resolving and mitigating that situation so that it doesn't break me down long term. Setting those boundaries, kind of like Anna had said, I have to set that boundary from the get-go, and once it's crossed, address it. The bleeding heart in me wants to believe that it'll just get better. It'll get better and I'll get through it and I'm fine. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much self-care I do as far as going to the gym or anything like that. I have to address the issue. And that is something that I have made a priority this month specifically, is addressing the issues and making things better for myself.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Stephanie. Thank you so much for offering those things. Does anybody else have their hand raised, Andrew? All right, so some of the comments. Shawanda's offering, I'm returning to self-care on purpose. I'd love to hear more about that, Shawanda. Anna says, setting boundaries, only accepting people, projects, and learning that brings joy and support for my community. That's great. Lynn's offering, continuing to be gentle with myself and self-forgiving. Trisha's saying, making sleep a bigger priority. Yes, thank you. Nancy, I agree with Anna. Setting boundaries, learning to say no. Yes. And I always tell Greishen, no is a complete sentence. We don't need to justify anything. No will suffice. Forgive myself and understand that I'll make mistakes, and so will others. Yes, Taryn, that is important to remember. I agree, these webinars have been a lifesaver. I need to remember to do some type of self-care daily. This might be guided meditation, tapping techniques, or putting on my emotional raincoat. But it also includes getting myself to all my doctor's appointments. I often put these off because there isn't time with everyone else's appointments and work. Thank you, Tammy. Yes. And I'd sure love, Tammy, if you'd raise your hand, we could take you off mute for you to explain to us what the emotional raincoat is. That'd be great. Yamuna, I need to treat myself the way I want to be treated. Let go of not so great moments and celebrate the wins. A good night's sleep, the walk I choose to go on in the cold, and the kindness I demonstrate to myself and others. Andrew, go ahead and unraise or speak. Andrew's raising his hand.
Hey, I also will unmute Tammy after I'm done. So thanks, Tammy,
Okay.
for raising your hand. But I was just thinking about like taking better care of myself. I need to follow my own advice, which is stop comparing myself or my life to others. I think that's something that I constantly just like have in my mind. And I think it's really, really easy to say to yourself and say to other people and, you know, have that feel good kind of vibe. But I think it's a lot harder to truly internalize it and really have it live itself out. And I definitely resonate with what Greishen said about social media earlier. I think social media is something that really brings out comparisons, not just for yourself, but like just your friendships, your marriage, your close relationships, how you raise family. I think that, you know, I think it's very easy for me to kind of, you know, I'm social media, you know, I'm a marketing communications person, and I think it's very easy to kind of live in that world of social media. But I need to make sure that I'm living in it and not letting it consume me in some ways. So.
Thanks, Andrew. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Andrew Hitchcock. He serves as our web tech support all the time. We're so appreciative of him and his skills behind the scenes. Shawanda also offered just honestly taking time for me and saying no. Thank you, Shawanda. Maria, I think I have to give time for myself because I always care for everybody, but I forget myself. So I think I will start taking care of myself. Thank you. And then, oh, yep, Adrian, Andrew speaks, he does. And then Tammy, go ahead, we'll put Tammy on and then we'll take some more comments.
Hi. So this emotional raincoat is something that I added to my emotional toolbox a couple of decades ago. This is the idea that if I put on my emotional raincoat, nothing's going to hurt me. Any hurtful words and stuff are just going to beat up and roll off just like the rain would. So I kind of just adapt it to whatever the situation is and try to let it not get to me, not let it soak in.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
It's kind of like the saying my dad used to say, like, be like a duck and let it roll off your back.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Tammy.
Yep.
All right. Shatisha says, make it a point to enjoy each day. Find ways to get back to things I used to like to do, like reading for fun or coloring, exercise and stretch, listen to music, or listen to more gospel music, volunteer more, and prioritize. Thank you. And Greishen, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I do. So I have, so for me, I was speaking to my mother on Saturday about this and how my journey has been throughout, you know, this whole lifespan. And we're talking about luggages and things like that, right? And she tells when you check in at the airport, you check in your luggage, right? You're not carrying it all around the airport. If you were, that's, you know, you're carrying that whole weight all around. So when you leave it at checkout, you leave it there, right? You don't take it everywhere in your shoulder, you know, your shoulders, and everything feels lighter. So that's the same thing she told me about carrying other people's weight in my shoulders and letting it go. That is not my weight. As empathetic as I could be, it could be also draining to me. I cannot keep pouring out of an empty cup, that I just have to let it go and let them figure it out, that they'll find their way.
Thank you, Greishen. And Tammy says, I love that, Greishen. And Adrian says, Andrew, I'm so proud of you speaking here. Andrew speaks every once in a while. Adrian, he's like one of those, like the still waters run deep. It's very quiet, but when he speaks, it's really impactful. Does anybody else have an answer to this question?
I just want
Andrew's
to
back.
I want to interject. The more you get to know me, I am very much not a quiet person.
Yeah,
On these webinars, Andrew, you're pretty quiet.
Just on the webinars, yes.
Okay. That's great. That's great. And I think for me, it's really about being intentional these days and making it a point. I have, as I'm sure a lot of you do, a lot of responsibilities. I have a full-time job. I have a husband. I have multiple children. I am a caretaker for my granddaughter sometimes. There's a lot of other people's stuff on me as a mom, as a wife, as a friend. And Robyn gets the least of me. But this year in 2022, I've made a commitment to really start delving into some authentic, deep self-love, which means it's intentional. I was, so Be Strong Families had our internal professional development last week, Friday, and we had to watch one of our own webinars that we hadn't been on or hadn't hosted and hadn't seen, and take that information and go back into our small groups and discuss the webinar, you know, what it was about. And I had one that was about what is love, and it was by Ahmad, and he had put up a quote that was by Bell Hooks that I loved so much so that I wrote it out in my own handwriting and put it on my fridge for everybody to see. And it said, "Love is as love does. Love is an act of will, namely both an intention and an action. Will also implies a choice. We don't have to love, we choose to love. Since the choice must be made to nurture growth, this definition counters the more widely accepted assumption that we love instinctually." And that's by Bell Hooks, and that was in her book, All About Love. And that really hit me, not about loving others, but intentionally and willfully and by choice, loving myself. I make a choice to love people all the time, but I've never done that for myself.
Yeah,
And
I could go ahead, Robyn.
Yeah,
I can
and that was
relate
a profound moment for me.
Yeah. I can relate totally with you, Robyn. Sometimes I'm in spaces that I'm always so used to doing for others and others and others. And that was, at times I was like, man, that's the way I give myself love. And I, little did I know I was draining my own energy, my own love. And, little did I know that I needed to love myself a little bit more and speak it into existence and put it into actions. And once I put those into actions, then I have a little, I'm modeling for others that are observing me and that admire me, especially starting with my daughter. So if I do that, I know that once, she sees it and she's observing that, she's going to do that as a grown up. And I'm hoping for it, right? That's what I'm hoping for, that she's able to do that. That's a great, I can relate a lot.
Yeah, I really loved it. All right. Is there any other person here that wants to answer this question, either with your hand raised or in the chat? And Shawanda, she has to go. This was a great webinar. It was my first, but not my last. Thank you for the help and support. Thank you, Shawanda. Tammy says, that was something that struck me as well. I realized that in the course of these webinars, that was a shortcoming of mine. I always focus so much on being a good mother and setting an example, a good example, but I haven't always done that with self-love. Tammy, I hear you. That's my story too. Anybody else? What was that?
I said it's a lot of hard work that we have to do within ourselves and dig deep, and that's when it's just so much work and you have to just process it and sit with it and figure it out and name it. And then you could just, recommend yourself and suggest yourself, what's going to benefit you to, in the future to improve that self-love.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Tammy says, when that slapped me in the face, it was a huge awakening. I'm really trying to do better. Thank you, Tammy. Everybody who loves you is grateful for that too. All right, Andrew, we're going to go ahead and close this conversation down. The ending poll is up on the screen. So if you would be so kind to answer those couple questions. And then we're going to talk about our Amplify campaign. So we know at the end of all of our webinars, we use a hashtag. And so today, Be Strong Families collectively is hashtag Amplify Resilience. If you guys would put in the chat what you're wanting to amplify after today's webinar, that would be awesome. And so I think mine is going to be Amplify Self-Love. Anybody else have one? Tammy, Amplify, I love myself, to the moon and back. That's great, Tammy. Amplify self-care. Thank you, Trisha. Amplify love. Great, Lynn. Thank you. Amplify forgiveness. Thank you, Taryn. A couple more. Amplify understanding. Thank you, Yesenia. Amplify loving myself. Thank you, Abney. Oh, that was actually Betty. Sorry, Amplify loving myself was Betty. Abney was Amplify being intentional. Thank you both. Corrine, self-love. Thank you. And Jessica, Amplify equity. Great. Thanks, everybody. And continue to put those in. Here is the schedule for our Be Strong Family webinars for the rest of the week. We have Sarah Gonzalez on Wednesday, and that will be on Tuesday, and that will be in Spanish. On Wednesday, I'll be knocking parent engagement out of the box. That's with our own strategic partnerships managers, Rita Sashington. And then Sarah Gonzalez will be back on Thursday. Oh, no, she won't. Laura Garza Garcia will be here with us on Thursday. And then on Friday, we have our cafe. And then Kathy V, Amplify Kindness. Great. So if you want to experience a taste of a cafe that's a little bit more than just the conversations, please join us every Friday at noon for a taste of cafes. If you use the QR code in your phone and your camera, it'll take you right to the registration. Andrew has been so kind to also put that registration link into the chat. The top one is for the English and Spanish webinars, and the bottom one he just put is for the taste of cafes. These are the Parent Cafe questions in a box. If you want to create your own conversations, you can always order a box of cards by clicking that QR code or clicking the link in the chat. Thank you, Andrew. And if you or your organization is interested in training a team on how to use those cards to do a parent cafe, we host team trainings. These are made up of organizations all over the world that come together to learn how to properly facilitate and host a Be Strong Families Cafe. That QR code and that link are posted now. And if you have not subscribed to us on YouTube, you can do that by using the QR code or the link in the chat. All of our webinars are now housed on YouTube. You can share them with your friends. If you've been touched or you've learned something you want to share, please pass that link along. The more people that we gather into our community, the deeper and richer our conversations will become. All right, on behalf of myself and Greishen and Andrew and all of us at Be Strong Families, I hope you guys have a marvelous day wherever you are, whatever